Reforming the Civil Service. This editorial examines comprehensive reforms needed for Pakistan's bureaucracy. The institutions of governance have long needed reform and restructuring. This sentence serves as the thesis by declaring governance bodies overdue for overhaul. This is apparent from the deterioration in public service delivery and people's eroding confidence in the state machinery. Deterioration is a noun meaning gradual decline in quality. Eroding confidence is a verb phrase meaning diminishing trust. This sentence means that worsening services and lost trust reveal institutional decay, and weakening of the state's institutional capacity has affected the quality of advice available to governments and meant even the most well-crafted policy cannot be effectively implemented. Institutional capacity is a noun phrase meaning the ability of organizations to perform. Well-crafted is a compound adjective meaning carefully designed. This sentence means that weakened agencies hamper good policymaking and execution. The increase in the size of the civil service over the years with federal employees, now around 500,000, has not made it fit for purpose or produced improvements in efficiency and reskilling of personnel. Fit for purpose is an idiomatic expression meaning suitable to its intended function. Reskilling is a noun meaning training to learn new skills. This sentence means that hiring more staff failed to boost effectiveness or update skills. It has had the opposite effect. Opposite effect is a noun phrase meaning contrary outcome. This sentence means that growth in numbers actually worsened performance. Around 2.4 million civil servants are employed in provincial governments. Civil servants is a noun meaning government employees. This sentence states the scope of bureaucracy at the provincial level. Acknowledging the need for change, Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif recently convened a meeting where he heard proposals for reform from a committee set up earlier and chaired by Planning Minister Ahsan Iqbal. Acknowledging is a verb meaning admitting or recognizing. Convened is a verb meaning called together. This sentence means the PM assembled a committee, led by Iqbal, to present reform ideas. The committee met over a dozen times and came up with recommendations for transition to a smart civil service, which were placed before the PM. Recommendations is a noun meaning proposed courses of action. Or smart civil service is a jargon phrase meaning a modern tech-enabled bureaucracy. This sentence means the group drafted proposals to modernize the civil service. Iqbal's committee has now been given a month to translate these into an action plan for the PM's approval. Translate into is a phrasal verb meaning convert or transform. This sentence means the committee has 1 month to develop concrete reform steps. Before discussing the key proposals, it is important to place this issue in its historical context. Historical context is a noun phrase meaning background of past events. This sentence introduces the need to review previous reform attempts. The declining capacity of the state machinery is the cumulative result of several factors. Cumulative is an adjective meaning increasing by successive additions. This sentence means that multiple causes have combined to weaken governance. Among these, 2 stand out. 1, postponed reforms, and 2, politicization of the civil service. Postponed reforms is a noun phrase meaning delayed improvements. Politicization is a noun meaning turning a neutral body into a political tool. This sentence identifies delays in political meddling as primary culprits. After independence, governance required transforming the colonial-era administrative system into one responsive to public expectations and the needs of a developing country. Colonial era is a compound adjective meaning from the time of foreign rule. Responsive is an adjective meaning reacting appropriately to demands. This sentence means that post-1947, Pakistan needed to overhaul inherited colonial structures. For decades, this task was ignored, which left the administrative system unable to meet the requirements of modern governance. Administrative system is a noun phrase meaning the bureaucracy. This sentence means neglect of reform rendered agencies unfit for current needs. When reform was attempted in 1973, it was limited and controversial. Controversial is an adjective meaning provoking disagreement. This sentence states that the 1973 reforms were incomplete and widely debated. Various government commissions and committees were set up in the 2000s and subsequently, whose recommendations were usually not implemented. Implemented is a verb meaning put into effect. This sentence means that proposals from multiple panels went largely unexecuted. At other times, reform efforts took the form of isolated steps in select areas, and not what was needed to make the civil service competent and people-friendly. Isolated steps is a noun phrase meaning one-off changes. People-friendly is a compound adjective meaning accessible and service-oriented. This sentence means that piecemeal fixes failed to build a capable, citizen-focused service. Patchwork measures instituted from time to time tinkered with the system and fell short of a transformational overhaul of the civil service. Patchwork measures is a metaphor meaning makeshift fixes. Tinkered is a verb meaning made minor adjustments. This sentence means that sporadic tinkering never amounted to true reform. No provincial government even undertook such an endeavor. Endeavor is a noun meaning attempt or effort. This sentence means that subnational leaders also failed to drive systemic reform. A systemic problem needs a systemic response and not patchwork reform. Systemic is an adjective meaning affecting the entire system. This sentence emphasizes that only comprehensive action can solve bureaucratic decay. Meanwhile, politicization of the bureaucratic and police cadres from the 1970s onwards distorted their functioning and entailed a number of damaging consequences, undermining of efficiency, erosion of authority, and draining of morale. Cadres is jargon meaning organized groups of officials. Entailed is a verb meaning involved as a necessary consequence. This sentence means politicizing agencies since the 70s harmed performance and spirit. It also meant the civil service ceased to attract the best and the brightest as it once did. Ceased is a verb meaning stopped. The best and the brightest is an idiomatic phrase meaning top talent. This sentence means bureaucracy lost its appeal to capable professionals. Merit and professionalism were cast aside by both military and civilian governments in manipulating the state machinery for political ends. Merit is a noun meaning ability based on performance. Cast aside is a phrasal verb meaning discarded. This sentence means successive regimes sidelined competence to achieve political goals. They failed to see this would ultimately leave governments with less rather than more control. Ultimately is an adverb meaning in the end. This sentence means that politicization ironically weakened, not strengthened to a state authority. It is against this backdrop that the government is contemplating reform on the basis of around 50 recommendations from the Iqbal Committee. Backdrop is a noun meaning background context. This sentence introduces the current effort as informed by 50 committee proposals. These focus on areas of recruitment, training, performance management, institutional restructuring, and compensation. Performance management is jargon meaning systems to evaluate employee output. This sentence lists the key reform themes under consideration. The proposal for greater specialization in the civil service is a welcome one. Specialization is a noun meaning focus on a specific area of expertise. This sentence means that encouraging expert roles within bureaucracy is positive. Downsizing is missing from the top recommendations, except a passing mention of the need to implement those made by another committee. Downsizing is a noun meaning reducing workforce size. Passing mention is an idiom meaning brief reference. This sentence means that cuts to staff aren't prioritized, despite past advice to do so. The main recommendation is the establishment of a national executive service to provide for lateral entry by opening a certain percentage of senior posts at grade 20 or above to experts in different areas from outside the civil service. Lateral entry is jargon, meaning hiring professionals mid-career. Grade 20 is bureaucratic jargon for a high civil service rank. This sentence explains the plan to bring external specialists into senior roles. It is unclear whether NES would have both lateral entrance and career civil servants. Career civil servants is a noun phrase meaning long-term bureaucrats. This sentence means the mix of new hires and existing officials remains undefined. The last time lateral entry was attempted was in 1973, with mixed results. This sentence means that previous mid-career hires yielded uneven outcomes. There is little doubt that professional talent inducted from outside can inject fresh ideas, encourage innovation, and bring specialized expertise to a closed service. Closed service is an idiom meaning an insular bureaucracy. This sentence means external experts can revitalize an otherwise rigid system. But if one of the aims of reform is to end the elitist nature of the higher civil service, the proposed NEC risks setting up another elite cadre akin to the Pakistan Administrative Service and the District Management Group. Elitist is an adjective meaning favoring a privileged few. Cadre is a noun meaning a core group of officials. This sentence means creating NES could replicate, rather than dismantle, bureaucratic privilege. Creation of another service may raise both administrative and legal issues that would have to be resolved. This sentence means establishing NEOS risks complex governance and judicial challenges. Perhaps lateral inductions of professionals can be done while avoiding these problems, especially the risk of politicization, to ensure candidates are not selected on political criteria. This sentence means careful process design is needed to prevent politicized appointments. The competitive and transparent process promised by the proposal will need to be rigorously enforced. Rigorously enforced is a verb phrase meaning strictly applied. This sentence means fair selection procedures must be tightly upheld. Instead of creating a new separate service, the government could consider identifying select ministries where outside expertise and specialization are sorely needed, and initially open these to lateral entry above grade 19. Sorely needed is an idiom meaning urgently required. This sentence means pilots in key departments could test external hiring before broad rollout. Induction should be through the Federal Public Service Commission. This sentence means the existing recruitment body ought to oversee all hires. It would be important to ensure representation of all provinces in lateral entry inductions to preserve the federal character of the service. Federal character is a formal phrase meaning balanced regional inclusion. This sentence means that hires must reflect provincial diversity for legitimacy. Downsizing the civil service is not addressed by the reform package, but is essential for reform. This sentence means staff reductions, though omitted, are critical to improving efficiency. A bloated bureaucracy is not just a drain on the exchequer, but also contributes to its dysfunctionality. Bloated is an adjective meaning excessively large. Exchequer is a formal noun meaning the treasury. This sentence means oversized agencies waste money and hamper performance. No serious effort has been made in the past to right-size the government. Right-size is a jargon verb meaning adjust workforce to optimal size. This sentence means past administrations failed to align staff numbers with needs. There are several ways to do this. This sentence introduces methods for reducing and optimizing personnel. Reduce the tiers in the bureaucratic hierarchy, merge divisions which have proliferated, and abolish posts lying vacant for over 3 years. Tiers is a noun meaning levels of authority. Proliferated is a verb meaning multiplied rapidly. This sentence lists structural cuts, consolidation, and removal of long vacant roles. Another way is to ensure federal and provincial expenditures are strictly aligned with constitutional mandates, which will both save money and reduce personnel. Constitutional mandates is a formal phrase meaning duties defined by the Constitution. This sentence means budgeting by legal requirements can trim costs and headcount. The reform proposals do not deal with provincial and local government structures. This sentence means current plans overlook subnational administrative layers. Yet service delivery takes place at the local and provincial level. This sentence means citizens receive public services primarily from lower tiers. Excluding them in the reform effort means overlooking the crucial coordination the federal government maintains with them. This sentence means ignoring provinces and municipalities risk fractured implementation. Meaningful reform to improve service delivery means it has to be comprehensive with a whole-of-government vision. Whole-of-government is a compound adjective meaning all branches working together. This sentence means only unified, across-the-board changes can enhance services, or strong local government institutions are essential for effective service delivery. This sentence means empowered municipalities are key to meeting citizens' needs. Officials argue provincial and local government structures are the purview of provincial governments. Purview is a noun meaning scope of responsibility. This sentence reports that some say subnational reform lies solely with provinces. But that doesn't mean reform suggestions cannot be made to them to consider. This sentence means the federal government can still offer recommendations for local changes. Comprehensive reform should involve the following interlinked aspects: fundamental changes in recruitment and training to meet today's governance needs, professionalizing the service by acquisition of specialized skills and technological know-how, incentivizing performance by clear criteria, spelling out measurable deliverables, streamlining decision-making processes for quicker decisions, merit-based promotions, and weeding out deadwood and poor performers by severance packages. Weeding out is a phrasal verb meaning removing unwanted elements. Deadwood is an idiom meaning unproductive staff. This sentence outlines a holistic blueprint covering hiring, training, performance, and accountability. It is yet to be seen how far the government's final reform proposals meet these requirements. This sentence means the effectiveness of forthcoming reforms remains uncertain. A systemic problem needs a systemic response. This sentence reiterates that only comprehensive action can solve deep-rooted issues. The writer is a former ambassador to the US, UK, and UN. Published in Dawn, August 4, 2025.